This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning, students. Can you see the slides clearly?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we are going to understand the application of pharmacoepidemiology in another area known as hospital. It is also called as hospital pharmacoepidemiology. Concept remains the same, but the area differs, right? Earlier we have seen it is the study of use and effect of the drug in the large population. We are very clear about the pharmacoepidemiology definition, but the same definition applies here also, but in the hospital. So to put it in a simplified and clear manner, this is what is all about. So let us understand hospital pharmacoepidemiology, what it is. So in this case, pharmacoepidemiology helps to assess the effect, that is the efficacy as well as safety. Since it is controlled environment, since hospital is a controlled environment, it allows you to study the efficacy and safety of the medicines, including cost effectiveness of the treatment. Okay, so pharmacoepidemiology helps to study the efficacy, safety, and cost effectiveness of the treatment in daily clinical practice at hospital in large population. Okay, this is known as hospital pharmacoepidemiology. We have already understood the difference between efficacy and the effect, correct? Where the comparison of two drugs can also be possible in the hospital setup to find out which one is better. So this is about the pharmacoepidemiology. Let us not go deep into this because you are already aware it is only the applicability at the hospital level. So are we clear on this? Can we move on to the next concept? Next concept is that why hospital pharmacoepidemiology is so important at the hospital setup. First one is medication that was found safe on approval may prove to have risk. See, what happens is that when the drug is approved by the drug controller general after submission of the documents from clinical trials, the medicine enters the market. When it enters the market, parallelly, the medical representatives from the company will visit the doctors. So when they visit the doctors, especially for the product which is newly launched in the market, they're going to explain about the product, new product, its efficacy, safety, cost effectiveness, duration of treatment required, and so on. Now, when they are trying to give the information about the medicine, they are going to give the medicine, they're going to give the information which may be sometimes biased, sometimes biased. Now, let's understand what kind of biased information they may give to doctors so that the pharmacoepidemiology concept becomes so much important at the hospital setup. Lakshmi Jayachandran, what may be the biased information you think the medical representative can give to doctor?
Hmm. Don't know, sir.
Okay,
Reporting
Benazir,
bias,
yeah, something you are trying to tell?
like any reporting bias, media reporting.
Can you make it more specific?
Hmm. Some drugs may cause adverse effects now that they can
Oh,
report.
okay.
That's
So what is that
don't.
the biased information area you are expecting?
Some drugs may cause more areas, unlike specific areas commonly they will cause.
Okay,
That's I don't know, sir.
okay, no problem. Benazir,
Sir, that one only, ADA reporting. Other, I don't know.
PSR,
So suppose if it's a new drug and if the ADR is not known, then the med representatives may not be able to tell the information to the doctors. They may hide it also at times so that the drug is marketed properly, and then it may cause side effects in patients without the doctors knowing about it.
yeah. So they may hide. You're right. Uh, the medical representatives may hide the adverse effects which are likely to be severe in their nature, or some types of areas will be masked. So doctor do not know about it, but prescribe the medicine. The patient maybe experience such kind of adverse effects, but may not report to doctor, but may not report to doctor. So such kind of problems do arise. Uh, so such kind of because of that information, the same medication when they come to hospital for prescribing, after prescribing, epidemiology at hospital can assess such risk associated with the new medication. That is why pharmacoepidemiology is very important at the hospital setup, especially to assess the medication is safe or not. This is the one use where pharmacoepidemiology helps here in the hospital setup. Next thing is that physicians physicians prescribe medicines often not based on the evidence or guidelines or recommendations. See, uh, okay, before we understand this concept, let us understand one more thing. Anne Maria,
Yes, sir.
whether there is a whether there will be a guidelines or recommendation for the treatment of each disease.
Yes, sir.
Okay. What is that guidelines say?
So, for example, if we are having diabetes mellitus, there will be a first line drug. But if we are having some other diseases with that, like if you have renal impairment or something, there will be another medicine for that particular case, something like that. We have to choose that drug, and we have to check all the full details about the patient, and then we have to prescribe the medication.
Correct. Yeah. Whenever we are, whenever the physician are prescribing the medicine, they are supposed to follow the guidelines of the country, of their own country, or the guidelines that are universally available, where these guidelines say that which drug is chosen as a first line, second line, alternative treatment, and the drug in specific clinical situations such as liver disease and kidney disease or kidney impairment. But they may not follow because they go by their own collective experience. Now, pharmacoepidemiology helps to assess how the medicines getting prescribed, whether they are prescribed as per the evidence or the guidelines or not. Right? Evidence-based medicine information is limited. Kezia Rachel, what is evidence-based medicine?
Yes, sir.
What is it? What is evidence-based medicine?
So, the which
Have you
have
studied?
the
Yeah,
expertise.
go ahead, go ahead. Nikita,
Yes, sir.
what is it?
Sir, according to different study and patient condition, uh, doctors may prefer different medicines.
Now, what is evidence-based medicine or medicine information?
I don't know, sir.
Manoj,
Yes, sir. Don't know.
don't know. Okay. Kessia Korean,
Don't know, sir.
Mega,
Sir, evidence-based means we have an evidence of a medicine like from various researchers according to all the uh, what clinicians and everyone says, or based on that, some evidence will be there. I think so it is because I don't completely I don't know, sir.
okay. You're right, partly. Let us see what other people say. Charlie George,
Yes, sir.
Sonam,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Any answer?
Hello?
Any answer?
Hello, sir? Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, answer. I'm listening to you, Sonam. Answer. Do you know about evidence medicine, based medicine?
Sir, like the researches which include about the medicine, which include information about the medicine, that is evidence-based medicine use.
Where it is available?
Like the doctors will prescribe the medicine according to the result of the research, but then usually they don't
Where it is
prescribe
available?
it as such.
Such evidence
They,
where it is available?
I
Where it
can't
is?
hear your voice clearly.
Have you studied this in fourth year Form D, evidence-based medicine, in clinical pharmacy? No?
Sorry, sir.
Sorry? Anybody studied this chapter, evidence-based medicine, in clinical pharmacy last year? See, evidence-based medicine information is from the research articles or the review articles that are published over a period of time. Okay, so whenever such information is used, you have to see whether such information is complete to recommend the medicines, safe medicines. But such information is limited or less or not complete. So pharmacoepidemiology helps to uh, get that information. That is why this is very important at the hospital setup. Next, a patient failed to take medication as prescribed, right? So because of their own reason, some may not have money, some may have may experience adverse drug reactions, some may stop medications once they what do you say, once their clinical condition improves. So pharmacoepidemiology helps to understand whether the patients are taking the medicines regularly. If no, what are the reasons for not taking the medicines? Right. So such kind of things assessment can be done through the pharmacoepidemiological method. So this is the general applications of pharmacoepidemiology at the hospital setup. This is where the pharmacoepidemiology is useful in the hospital setup. So we have tried understanding what is hospital pharmacoepidemiology, why pharmacoepidemiology is so important uh, in the hospital setup. Let us understand the use of pharmacoepidemiology specifically under different headlines. Now, the first application is that use of pharmacoepidemiology in drug approval process. Drug approval process. See, pharmacoepidemiology do not help in the pre-approval stage. Remember that. Before introduced into the market, nobody can do such kind of studies where the data needs to be submitted for approval of the drug. We know that one drug, if it is efficacious or if it is effective, First, the studies will be done in lower animals and then higher animals and clinical trials, and then it get into the phase 4, correct? In phase 4, where the general applicability, its efficacy and safety is assessed in real world population, okay, then it get finally approved. But pharmacoepidemiology is always, I mean, almost parallel to that of phase 4 study, but it is done in few patients, and such data can also be submitted for final approval of the drug. So pharmacoepidemiology, when it is used for the drug approval process, some subjects are enrolled using specific study criteria. So once they are enrolled, few safety information is available from these patients. Say, for example, when the drug is introduced in the market, especially in phase 4, the number of adverse effects that is available are reported, let's say that, is less. Now, such drugs can be can be done in different centers. You can see here center number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So when you subject the molecule in different centers, then what it happens is that more safety and efficacy data is available for the new drug. Now, such data is going to be used in order to get the final drug approval process, and it is used in the initial stages of drug life cycle. Okay, so please remember that pharmacoepidemiological studies is not used for pre-approval process, but it is used for final approval process, because when the drug is launched in the is subjected to clinical trials, we are very clear that it undergoes phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and phase 4. Still the drug is not finally approved. Remember that. When the drug is in the final phase of the clinical trials, it takes about 6 months to 1 year to collect the data, safety data, more safety data, and efficacy data also. During this stage, if you subject the molecule to pharmacoepidemiological study in hospital setup, the data which is collected from this such pharmacoepidemiological study plus the data which is collected in the phase 4 can be used for the final approval of the drug by the drug control general. That is where the pharmacoepidemiology helps in influencing drug approval process. Okay, are you all clear? Can we move on to the next concept?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The next application of pharmacoepidemiology in the hospital setup is use of pharmacoepidemiology in assessing prescribing practices. So it helps to assess the prescribing practices, especially for the chronic diseases such as hypertension, diabetes, hypercholesterolemia, or any cardiovascular diseases, right? Now, As we have already understood that the doctors may not follow the evidence or the guidelines available for the prescribing of the medicines. So pharmacoepidemiology helps to assess whether the doctors are following the prescribing of medicines, especially for the chronic diseases, using recommended guidelines or evidences. So that is the use of pharmacoepidemiology in assessing the prescribing practices. The next application is that it is used to assess the pattern of prescribe. See, one is that whether they are getting prescribed for appropriately for chronic diseases. Number one. If yes, whether the pattern of prescribing uh, is it correct? That is also very important. See, you may take one class of drugs, like for example, calcium channel blockers. There are many calcium channel blockers in antihypertensive chapters. Are many beta blockers or alpha blockers in the treatment of hypertension. But among alpha receptor blockers, the recommended drug will be one. Whether such drug which is recommended, are they getting prescribed? If there are 4 alpha receptor blockers, then you should, among the 4, there will be a preference. 1, if not 2, if not 3, if not 4. So you need to find out whether the doctors are prescribing in the same pattern. If they are not prescribing in the same pattern, what is the reason for deviating from the pattern of prescribing or the choice of drugs? This is what we are going to assess in pharmacoepidemiological concept in the hospital setting. And also you can assess the medication usage, whether after prescribing the patient has taken the medicine or not, whether he has purchased all the medicines or not, whether he is taking regularly 3 times a day as prescribed by the physician or not, whether the medicines are getting refilled after consuming first set of medicines that were prescribed, and whether the medicines are stored properly in the designated places or indicated places. This is the assessment of medication use in the hospital setup as well as in the community setup, especially in the outpatient department. So this can also be done. Next one is that pharmacoepidemiology helps to assess the drug utilization of medicines. Say, for example, among antihypertensives, which are the medicines that are getting prescribed and utilized, and the business turnover is taking place, and the stock of those medicines, whether they are less or more, which are fast moving, slow moving, moderately moving drugs. So all these things can be assessed at the hospital setup to assess the drug utilization of medicines and including their distribution. Say, for example, let us say that there are 10 medicines that are um, purchased to treat um, 5 different diseases. 10 medications are purchased to treat 5 diseases. Now the first question is that whether all those 10 medicines are getting prescribed properly or not, number one. If they are properly prescribed, whether they are getting sold, consumed, and whether they are getting distributed properly to the wards where such patients are hospitalized. So all these things are called as drug utilization of the medicines. So these are the things which you can study by using the pharmacoepidemiological concept in the hospital setup. Are you clear on this? Can we move on to the next concept?
Yes, sir.
And also you can assess the effectiveness of prescribing outcome for a physician by linking pharmacy and clinical laboratory data. This is another one in addition to the earlier one what we have seen. See, the concept is like this. You have brought, say for example, I'll come back to the same example, 10 medicines to treat 5 diseases, and if the doctor has followed prescribing guidelines, if all those 10 medicines are properly prescribed, if the patients have properly taken the medicine, then what should be happening at the end of the treatment? Can anybody say? What should be happening to the patient if everything is followed properly? Ten medicines, 5 diseases, physicians have followed prescribing guidelines, same drugs were dispensed, patients have regularly taken the medicine because nurses have followed it up. So what will happen to the outcome of the disease in the patients? Anybody for that matter? What will happen to the disease outcome? No answer? Benjit?
Yes, sir. The the
What?
patient will be cured soon. Means
Yeah,
the disease will be
yeah,
cured.
yeah, correct. So it is as simple as that. Disease get cured or controlled properly with less side effect. So how can you find out that? You can link the pharmacy data with the clinical laboratory data. If pharmacy has distributed the same medicines and patient has consumed it, laboratory data also should be coming to normal, indicating that medicines are working and patients are improving. Next concept where pharmacoepidemiology is used for the evaluation of patient use of drugs in healthcare system. One from the angle of doctor, another one is from the angle of patient. Now, pharmacoepidemiology helps to make us understand whether medications are taken by the patients properly, number one. Whether patient has access to medications, number two. whether the patient stopped treatment. Number 3. These 3 things are going to be assessed for the medication usage. Okay, medication use means whether the patients are taking the medicines regularly, number 1, whether the patient has access to medications, and whether the patient has stopped treatment because of side effects. This can be assessed from the you know, this this can be assessed from the pharmacoepidemiology concept. The second concept is that one can assess the medication adherence, whether the medications are taken properly or not. If not taken the medicines, that means if it is a non-medication adherence, why they are not taking? What are the risk factors that is making them to be non-adherent? We have seen barriers of non-adherence, correct? So here also there's a risk factors. Similarly, the risk factors for non-adherence will be assessed. Okay. So it is all possible in the hospital setup as long as the patient is in the hospital as an inpatient, right? So the third use of pharmacoepidemiological data is that setup to understand two things basically: drug exposure, prescribing medicines, and taking medicines and not taking medicines. That is one thing. And also whether they're adherent or not adherent, it is one thing. But how many patients are really get exposed to drug? That is what it is the indication that whether they are affected by the drug or not. Okay. So this is what we need to understand. So pharmacoepidemiology helps to understand drug exposure, number 1. The second thing is that use of medications. Use of medications is the another usage. So 2 uses is possible: drug exposure and use of medication. When use of medication is happening, for what purpose? Whether it is for the clinical trials purpose, whether it is a public health purpose, whether uh, whether its cost is less so that it is effectively used, how widely it is used, all these things can be done for the use of medications. So exactly the use of medication with respect to whether it is for the clinical trials, whether it is for the public health, whether it is the for the therapy purpose. Clinical trials where the number of drugs and type of drugs will be very limited, number 1. Public health, for as a preventive measure, the drugs are selective and they are restricted. And the overall picture for the treatment of many diseases where you don't understand with respect to their cost effectiveness, right? So the cost effectiveness of many drugs also can be assessed. Are you clear on that aspect? Can we move on to the next segment?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yeah. So the next usage of pharmacoepidemiology is for assessing the assessment of quality and outcomes of medication use in population. So it is the use of pharmacoepidemiology in the assessment of quality and outcomes of medication use. What is this quality assessment of quality use? This is what we are going to understand. Now, first you're going to understand about the outcome of medication use in typical real world population. So like we know that the drugs passes through phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, where the drugs are tested on group of patients who are suffering from one disease or maximum two diseases. Correct? We know this concept very clearly. Most of the times, the patient will be suffering from only one type of disease. But when they come into the phase 4, they will the medicine will start working in real world population where the patient who are suffering from more than one disease also will be treated. The two drugs, two diseases, three diseases. So now what happens to the outcome of medication use in such population will be studied here. So that is how the outcome of the medication use in special population who are real world population will be studied. It also helps to understand the underuse of medications for treating the chronic diseases. Normal prescribing and normal medication use assessment is one thing, but how many medicines are getting underused because of some notion or because of some presumption is going to be studied. For example, warfarin prevents stroke in patients with atrial fibrillation. Warfarin is anticoagulant. It prevents stroke in patients with atrial fibrillations. But warfarin is not frequently prescribed in elderly population. Warfarin is not frequently prescribed in elderly population reported. And we know clearly that the AR is bleeding risk. Correct? Warfarin produces bleeding. Now, the physician will be expecting a bleeding. That is why he is not prescribing actually. So in this case, physicians have become anxious and not going for the warfarin, even though its cost is very less. Now here the physician attitude and perception about the risk and benefits of warfarin is responsible for low prescription, which is indicator of underuse. Such kind of low prescriptions can be assessed by using pharmacoepidemiological methods. And next one is that whenever the new medications arrives into the hospital, say as we have discussed earlier also, a medication when it is in phase 4 in the real world population, the same medication will also reach the hospital. And now the response of the practitioners or the reactions of the practitioners to start prescribing new medications is going to be assessed using pharmacoepidemiology. how the physicians are reacting to the new medications, especially serious toxicity produced by rosiglitazone. This is the anti-diabetic drug. So had put the physicians to be away from the rosiglitazone prescribing. So such kind of reactions can be assessed. Right? Any doubt in this concept? So basically, you try to assess the use of the drugs, whether it is underuse or overuse, or some anxiety issues or attitude and problem perceptions are going to be used, especially in the real world population. So the quality of use in such cases decreases. In this case, low prescription is indicator of low quality service or low quality care, right? Or it is not a cost effective care. So the quality of services comes down, right? So that's the thing. Any doubt? Anybody has any doubt?
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir.
So, okay, then now we will stop at this particular point about this chapter. We will take up the remaining part of this chapter in the next class. Okay. Manoj, please send the attendance list, number one. Did you able to
Okay.
send a list of drugs of your
Okay,
classmates?
I'll send you now.
Will you send it today?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll send you now.
Please send it positively so that I can go through it and announce the pattern of assessment to all of you, so that you can start preparing for the seminars. Right?
Yes, sir. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.